All right, PreCalc kids, this is our first lesson. So some of you are at home, some of you are at school. So just going to try to do the best we can. So the first lesson is all about review, and the first few lessons are review. So this is graphing basics. And what do you remember? So hopefully you remember lots of things. Hopefully. Okay, so you remember which one is the x-axis, right? The x-axis is the horizontal axis. The y-axis is the vertical axis, right? Okay, if I change colors here, because I can on the iPad, if I have this point right here, you're saying, okay, what point is that? That's the point 1, 2, 3, and then 1. So that's the point 3, 1. Oh, I skipped quadrants. You remember which one is quadrant 1, right? Quadrant 1 is the top right. And then the question is, how do we number them? And so, yeah, don't forget, we go counterclockwise. So that's quadrant 2. This is quadrant 3. And we always use Roman numerals. Nobody knows why. And this is quadrant 4. Okay, and plotting points, if I have this point over here, that one is -2, -2, right? -2, -2. Getting kind of ugly. When we talk about x-intercept, we're talking about where it crosses a line or something crosses the x-axis. And when we're talking about y-intercept, we're talking about where something crosses the y-axis, right? Okay. And so if I give you an equation, do you know what you have, whether you have a line, a parabola, or whatever? And you probably remember this. You probably remember if I have y equals 3x plus 2, you remember that that's a line, right? Because x is to the first power. If you have y equals x squared, remember that's your parabola, because it's got x squared. Remember, parabolas look like this, or they can look like this, either way. If you have y equals x cubed plus something, blah, 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 that's a cubic. And so remember, cubics have, as a general rule, they have 3 x-intercepts. They cross the x-axis 3 times. Because of the number 3, parabolas cross the x-axis twice because of the 2, and so on and so forth. So you might remember that. Do you remember? And it's going pretty fast, I know, but I'm just trying to get your brain to remember some things. Remember we talked about slope with lines? We'll talk about more of that in the next video. Slope, remember, is the letter M. Remember, sometimes we call that rise over run. Sometimes we call it y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All those kinds of things. Slope-intercept, you probably remember the best. Y equals mx plus b, because you've been using that since 9th grade, so you probably remember that. Standard form is when the x and y are on the same side. Sometimes we write this, ax plus by equals c, where the b and this equation has nothing to do with the b in that equation. Point slope form is probably a little less known. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And again, we'll talk more about these later. Sometimes that's helpful when we have to write an equation if we're given a slope and a point or 2 points. And we'll do that a whole bunch. Okay, but this is just to get your memory, back in, and you can tell me what you don't remember. So when you comment on the video, you can say, oh, I don't remember this, I remember all of that. Okay. If a point is said to be a solution for the equation, what does that mean? Lots of times we talk about things that are solutions, but we never really talk about what does it mean. So when you have the line 2x plus y equals 4, notice that's standard form. How do I know if a point is a solution? Well, that just means when I plug in the x and y value, the statement is true. And a solution means that that point is on the line. So if a point is on the line, it's a solution. Okay, whether it's this point or that point, whatever, or whether the line goes like this, which I think that line actually does, that point is a solution of the equation. So how do you know if it's a solution? Or you just plug it in. So if I have 2x plus y equals 4, I plug 1 in for x, because that's the x coordinate. I plug 2 in for y, and the question is that true? And that answer is yes. Yes, it is. If I have 2x plus y equals 4, does this point work? If I have 2 times negative 2 plus 0, does that equal 4? And the answer is no. No, it doesn't. So it's not on the solution. So it would be like something over here, sitting out here in space. Might be close to it, but it's not on it. And then the last one, 2x plus y equals 4. So 2 times a half plus 3, does that equal 4? Well, 2 times a half is 1. Is 1 plus 3 4? And you say, oh, yes, yes it is. So that's a solution. We'll talk about how the calculator works because I didn't bring one with me when I made this. What does the x-intercept mean for a graph? And how do we find it? Remember, the x-intercept is where the curve or function crosses the x-axis. That's what the x-intercept is. So I'm going to stop for now because I don't know how long this video is. I'm just kind of practicing, and I'll pick it up here when I come back.